Turkish friends, welcome to another Turkish Shelf video. In this installment of Turkish Shelf, I'm going to do a short story which partly takes place in Turkey. Snows of Kilimanjaro by Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Miller Hemingway was born in July 21st, 1899, was raised in Oak Park, Illinois. After high school, he was a reporter for a few months for the Kansas City Star before leaving for the Italian front to enlist as an ambulance driver in World War I. In 1918, he was seriously wounded and returned home. In 1921, he moved to Paris, where he worked as a foreign correspondent and fell under the influence of the modernist writers and artists of the 1920s Lost Generation expatriate community. He then went to Spain to cover the Spanish Civil War. He was in London during World War II, and at the end of the war, Hemingway was present with the Allied troops as a journalist at the Normandy landing and the liberation of Paris. He married 4 times. He maintained permanent residences in Key West, Florida, and in Cuba. He almost died in 1954 after plane crashes on successive days, with injuries leaving him in pain and in health for much of the rest of his life. In 1959, he bought a house in Idaho, where in mid-1961 he committed suicide. Hemingway's economical and understated style, which he termed the iceberg theory, had a strong influence in the 20th century fiction. While his adventurous lifestyle and his public image brought him admiration from the later generations, Hemingway produced most of his work between the mid-20s and the mid-50s. He was awarded a 1954 Nobel Prize in Literature. He published 7 novels, 6 short story collections, and 2 non-fiction works. Hemingway's debut novel, The Sun Also Rises, was published in 1926. The action is based on the real events, particularly Hemingway's life in Paris in the 1920s and a trip to Spain in 1925. His wartime experiences in World War I formed the basis of his novel, A Farewell to Arms, which was published in 1929, and his experiences during the Spanish Civil War was the basis for his novel, For Whom the Bell Tolls, which was published in 1940. The Old Man and the Sea, a novella which was published in 1952, was the last fiction work published during the author's lifetime. Islands in the Stream and The Garden of Eden was published posthumously in 1970 and in 1986 respectively. The Snows of Kilimanjaro was published as a short story in August 1938 in Esquire magazine. It was republished in the 5th column and the first 49 stories in 1938. Also in The Snows of Kilimanjaro and Other Stories in 1961. The story is also included in the complete short stories of Ernest Hemingway, the Finca Vigia edition, which was published in 1987. In this short story, Harry, a writer dying of gangrene because of a shooting accident, and his rich wife Helen are on safari in which the accident happened by the Kilimanjaro mountains in Africa. Harry's situation makes him irritable, and he speaks about his own death in a matter-of-fact way that upsets his wife. Harry then begins to ruminate on his life experiences, which have been many and varied, including anecdotes from 1922 and 1923 from Turkey. A film adaptation of the short story, directed by Henry King and written by Casey Robinson, and starring Gregory Peck as Harry and Susan Hayward as Helen, and Ava Gardner as Cynthia, a character which was invented for the movie, appeared in 1952. The film's ending does not mirror the story's ending. There are mainly two characters in this story. The first one is, of course, Harry. He's a snarky character who feels like he achieved his potential in life and decides to live his life by marrying a rich older woman. But he resents his wife and sometimes mostly resents himself. His morale is additionally down because of the gangrene in his leg. The other character is Helen, Henry's wife, a rich woman older than Henry. She is very patient towards Henry, and although she is very concerned about his health, she tries to cheer Henry up all through the short story. I talked about my general views about the short story in my video of April wrap-up part 1. I gave this short story a 6 out of 10 because I really hated the parts in which Henry talked very rudely to his wife. Also, I found those parts really depressive, but the flashbacks about his experiences in several different wars was written very well, and I was interested in them mainly because it included the Turkish experience. But if I have to be honest, I would have DNF'd this short story at the very first chapters if I was not reading the story for my Turkish shelf video, but I'm glad that I did because the parts about Turkey were very interesting. Ernest Hemingway served as a reporter for the Toronto Star beginning from 1920, and he continued to do the same until 1924. What brought him to Istanbul during the national struggle years in Turkey was his reporter duty. Hemingway was assigned to observe the War of Independence, especially the battles between Greece and Turkey between 1922 and 1923. During his tenure, Hemingway posted many of his articles in the newspaper from Istanbul, where he provided important information on Atatürk, Istanbul, the war, and many other things about Turkey. Because of this experience, Hemingway's portrayal of Turkey in 1920s, and especially the portrayal of Istanbul at that time, felt very realistic. Although I didn't live at that time, I know from many of the buildings that are still there. Also, I read so many things about that time in Turkey because it is a very important part in our history. And also, what affected Henry the most probably affected Hemingway the most. First migration of Greek minorities in Turkey to Greece as a part of minority exchange between Greece and Turkey. It was a very dramatic event in many families' lives. The ones who left the city, as well as the neighbors of those people. It was a very tragic event to be dislocated from one's own home. And Hemingway really made us feel the tragedy of those people in that story. Both in Istanbul and also in Edirne, the bordering city between Greece and Turkey. In summary, although in general I didn't enjoy the short story, I think the best parts of the story was the part about the wartime experiences, and especially his very vivid descriptions of Turkey in 1920s. Those were my views about the short story The Snows of Kilimanjaro by Ernest Hemingway. Please comment down below, have you read the short story and what did you think about it? And if you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, since Kilimanjaro mountains are currently located in Tanzania, I thought Tanzania should be the word of the day. Tanzania means Tanzania in Turkish, and Tanzania is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.